From the Samson Production Studios in the heart of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, it's your News 13.
Brought to you by SSPTV and the Standard Speaker.
They are the stories which affected our lives, warmed our hearts, outraged our souls, made us proud, spurred us to action. Tonight, a special edition of News 13 highlighting the top 10 stories of 2012. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this New Year's Eve. I'm Kathy Bazinski. Tonight, our countdown of the top 10 stories affecting Greater Hazleton and Schuylkill County during 2012. Story number 10 is about achieving greatness, but not forgetting your roots. It's the story of Hazleton native Joe Maddon, his Hazleton Integration Project.
My affinity for the Hispanic people is obvious.
Tampa Bay Rays manager and Hazleton native Joe Maddon has big plans for his hometown. The purchase of the former Most Precious Blood School is just one step in making Maddon's mission a reality. His mission being the Hazleton Integration Project.
About 2 years ago, when I came back into town, I kind of floated the idea with Bob and my cousin Elaine Maddon Curry, regarding doing something like this. I felt we needed to do something to try to bring the cultures together in my job in professional baseball. I have a lot of involvement with the Hispanic community, and I really have a strong affinity for these people. To come to my hometown and see such a disconnect between the two groups, I was very disappointed.
The school will soon be transformed into Hazleton One Community Center, a place for children to come and participate in a variety of educational, cultural, and athletic activities for little to no cost at all. Bringing different cultures together is something Maddon feels strongly about, and it's what HIP is all about. Hazleton's Hispanic population is high and continues to grow, and Maddon says it's time to connect.
As we integrate this wonderful group of people into our community, doing it through a community center where you're bringing the kids together primarily, hopefully the parents will find some common ground too.
The center won't open until this spring, but the excitement is already high. Maddon has brought several star athletes on board to get the word out. Former All-Star first baseman and New York Yankee Tino Martinez is one of those athletes. Martinez grew up in a mixed community filled with people of every kind. When he found out what Maddon had planned for Hazleton, he jumped at the opportunity to be involved. Martinez knows firsthand the benefits of uniting cultures.
And I know for myself and my brothers, we grew up with such a mixed group of people that it really helped us later on in life to communicate with people and to become better people overall.
Another key player, Bob Curry, who is the president of the board of directors for HIP. Purchasing the building for Hazleton's One Community Center means that HIP has completed their first goal.
I think not only is it exciting for us, but the enthusiasm is catching as well.
Jasmine Brooks, News 13, Hazleton.
Suddenly, in the past few months, folks who had never heard the term fiscal cliff could talk about nothing else. This evening, we still don't know whether our country will plunge over it. But the number 9 story of 2012, the fiscal crises facing governments large and small all across our area.
They were calling it Taxmageddon, and the end is near for this year's budget bug, which was at the top of every city council agenda for the past several months.
With the budget meeting.
A budget crisis.
Final budget.
Been reviewing the budget.
Oh, we had a meeting on the budget.
The budget is a mess. It's a nightmare.
This pesky bug is on its way out. For Hazleton, Pottsville, and Luzerne County, city councils will soon be able to breathe a sigh of relief because budgets are due in the next few weeks. The journey to make that final draft has been long and draining for city workers and council members.
They thought it was a joke. They thought work sessions were a joke. Now we've come to this point, and it's, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. You come up with a solution for us because the sky is falling.
And at some points, people lost their tempers.
And the next thing you know, he was screaming, and I'm not going to take it. So I screamed. And I thought to myself, what am I doing here?
Hazleton has held open work sessions where council members sat down with the mayor to talk over ideas and try to find the best solutions for the entire community. Folks say some of the meetings in Hazleton were like a visit to the circus.
There should have been big top music playing, the red and white streamers, the guy on a unicycle. This was hilarious.
Meetings in Pottsville were a much different story and at times seemed to move in a much more positive direction.
Last minute, there's layoffs or there's things that's going to happen. I think everybody sees the seriousness of it now, and we're all coming with some fresh ideas and looking deep into ways that we can bring some revenue in or make some additional cuts.
As for Luzerne County, a little confusion led council members to redraft their budget over and over.
We got a message from the manager on 20 October, and it was only a partial budget. Later on, a few weeks later, we got the full budget. The public has not seen the final budget. There's been one revision, there's been two revisions, we're waiting for the final revision.
One thing is for sure, all councils have one plan in mind: keeping their towns out of debt and keeping their department workers on the payroll. It's not just the council working to find the solutions. Folks have packed Hazleton City Hall more than just once to use their First Amendment rights and make sure their voice is heard. If the budgets are fixed as planned, councils hope to eventually make more revenue than they're using, all to help future families without the burden of city debt. Now this fiscal cliffhanger of 2012 is almost over, but the outcomes of the budgets will linger on for the upcoming year of 2013. Christina Papa, News 13.
And still ahead on this New Year's Eve edition of News 13, a top story about a trio of athletes who put our region on the map this year. And then a school district's commitment to just say no to bullying. That story in our countdown just ahead on News 13.
We welcome you to stop by Treasure Hunt for the holidays. As you can see, we have some specials this week. We have the men's Sherpa line hoodies. They're down to just $10. We're in the little boys and the little girls room. You can see we have these nice jackets. They're hooded. They're just $10. And over here for the boys, we have outerwear for just $4 to $7. We have glitzy tops for New Year's Eve, just $5. You can see they come in the glitter or the printed. All kinds of new arrivals for the ladies, just $5. We have these nice holiday jackets. Stop by Treasure Hunt. You will find something new every week. Again, we're located in West Hazleton, West Clay Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 4. We wish you a very happy and healthy new year.
And now News 13 continues our top 10 stories of 2012. When the Hazleton Area School District kicked off its anti-bullying curriculum back in October, it was a huge success. But how's it doing today? In story number 8 on our countdown, an update on how the district-wide curriculum is affecting students and their behavior.
Adding a new curriculum to an entire school district is no easy task. It's been several months since the Hazleton Area School District did just that by incorporating an anti-bullying curriculum inside the classroom. Today, administration couldn't be happier with its progress.
It has been implemented successfully, and we're very pleased with the progress of that curriculum.
West Hazleton Elementary School is just one of many schools within the district. Here, students are really taking the anti-bullying curriculum seriously. Not only are bullies stepping down, but bystanders are speaking up.
The bulliers, they know. There's people everywhere around the school that will report it.
They are reporting more, which makes us more and more busy every day. But that's a great thing because we get that information. We're able to look into situations and help students feel more comfortable.
And while administrators are very happy with the anti-bullying curriculum, students too are noticing a difference in behaviors of their peers each and every day. The minute you walk in West Hazleton Elementary School, you see a big banner, "We are moving towards greatness." And that statement could not be more true.
I was just so sad, and I would come to my parents every day, and I was scared to go to school. But after the bullying lessons, I feel much more better, and I'm just so much happier now that there's no more bullying.
Since there's been we've been having lessons, people have kind of backed down now that they learned more.
The anti-bullying curriculum has taught students some important lessons that they now use each and every day.
And if you just join in by laughing, that's a big step. Even if you're not making fun of them, laughing makes them feel insecure about themselves, and it's not right ever.
Everyone has learned that we're all bystanders, usually, and that we all have to step in and make a change.
If a bystander sees somebody bullying, they should tell a teacher or tell the bully to cut it out.
The only thing they really know is their name, and they never experienced anything in their life, and never been in their journey, and they don't know what happens at home or anywhere.
Students at West Hazleton also practice something they call the Wildcat Way.
To use kind words in action and cooperate with others.
And be prepared for class.
And be prepared for class.
Students are taught several lessons each week. The success of this curriculum is a win for the district. Jasmine Brooks, News 13, West Hazleton.
And let's check the winning midday lottery numbers for this last day of 2012. Good luck if you played. The daily number is 034, the big four, 8448, Quinto, 12691, and Treasure Hunt, 3, 11, 12, 29, and 30. Hope you were a winner.
Good evening, everyone, and here's tonight's Talk of the Town. The American Cancer Society will be hosting a Daffodil Days kickoff party Thursday, January 22nd at the Holy Rosary Church basement. Come join for food, fun, prizes, and information. For more information about this event, please call 1-800-227-2345. That's tonight's Talk of the Town. News 13 would like to send sincere condolences to the family and friends of these recently departed. Edmund E. Richards of Drums. Funeral is Wednesday at 11 a.m. from the Christ Church UCC. Friends may call at the church from 10 to 11 a.m. The Harmon Funeral Home is assisting the family. Jared J. Higgins of Hazleton. Friends may call Wednesday from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home. Mark D. Fulton of Tamaqua. Services were held from the E. Franklin Griffiths Funeral Home. And Mary A. Muma of Hazleton. Arrangements will be announced by the Dean W. Kreiner Funeral Home. Tonight's obituaries have been brought to you by the Smilax Floral Shop located on 15th Street in Hazleton. For delivery to all local funeral homes, call 570-454-0111. And by Mia's, once again, Hazleton area's #1 rated restaurant. Call 501-3410 for information on luncheon packages.
And number 7 on the News 13 list of top 10 stories of 2012 comes from the world of sports. It's a story of 3 athletes who grew up in Greater Hazleton and continue to move on and make the region proud. After years of toiling in baseball's minor leagues, Russ Kanzler was finally at the show. In 2012, he appeared in 26 games with the Cleveland Indians.
It's a tough thing to get into. You know, not everyone can be a professional baseball player, but I mean, I was in the same position. I played Valley West Little League. I feel like it was yesterday. So, you know, just a lot of hard work and dedication and never giving up on your dream.
He's worked his way up the ladder, and he got a small look with the Tampa Rays 2 years ago. This past year, though, he got a legitimate shot. He played almost the entire month of September, hit 3 home runs during the month.
In his stint with the Indians, the Cunningham native posted a .269 batting average and played first base and left field. He also belted 3 major league home runs, something almost no one else from Greater Hazleton has ever done.
Tom Matchik was the last guy from this area who played Major League Baseball, and he actually played in the late 60s and into the 70s. So you're talking about a 40-year period since this has happened. And once again, I think because everybody in a small community knows this individual, saw him play here. This guy also was a heck of a basketball player, and that's still big around here. Everybody feels a little bit of piece of pride when somebody makes it.
On to Hazleton area's first ever Golden Girl, Julia Franzosa, who won the state AAA championship in the javelin. But it's no surprise, Franzosa excels in about every sport she tries.
This is a girl, you saw it coming. She won 3 consecutive District 2 championships in that event. And the thing that I try to tell people is, yes, she won the gold medal in the javelin. This is just a great athlete. She was also one of their best sprinters. She was somebody that they put in relays. She's a fabulous athlete.
The Hazleton area senior made a mark, and that's a testament to the advances women athletes have made since Title IX, and an inspiration to all the young women who will follow her.
But if you would take a look at her, she looks like she could be in the homecoming court. She's an absolutely lovely girl. But that's the way it is anymore, and I think girls have come a tremendous way with the Title IX, and this is why this is a big thing for our district. It's the first female state championship. We have a couple boys in other sports, but this is the first female one.
Nate Ekus, he's getting an extra opportunity this week because...
And Nate Ekus took that opportunity and ran with it. This September, the undrafted rookie and drums native earned a spot with the Kansas City Chiefs.
This is a kid who we've always felt was one of the better athletes of the last 20 years. Had a great career up at college and now gets that call to the Chiefs, and it's just amazing, and it's a wonderful thing.
No one out of Greater Hazleton has made it to the NFL since the 1970s, and for Nate, the going wasn't easy.
By NFL standards, he's small, he's undersized, but you would never know it when you watch him play. I've watched him in a couple of games. He's predominantly a blocking fullback, and when you're the size that Nate is, that's not an easy thing. I've actually seen him decleat some guys. He's hit him so hard and put on some great blocks. He's got a couple of touches. I'd like to see him get a couple more, but he's done very well, and I think he can get a little career out of this in the National Football League.
But by all standards, Ekus delivers great pride to his home turf.
This is still a small community, like so many in northeastern Pennsylvania, and when one individual does well like that, the entire community feels they're part of it. And, you know, it wasn't that long ago, he was running around here Friday nights at Harmon Geist.
And a late-breaking update to that story. Just in the past 10 days, Russ Kanzler put on assignment by the Indians, but he's been picked up by the Toronto Blue Jays. Well, it was a story that made headlines for weeks. Hazleton's top cop involved in an accident with an elder man who ended up seriously hurt. Chief Frank DeAndrea's Broad Street crash comes in at number 6 on the top 10 stories of 2012.
Man down. An elderly man laid in the middle of the road here at the intersection of Broad and Laurel Streets in Hazleton back in May. The man was ejected from his motor scooter, leaving him with some serious injuries. Before 80-year-old Walter Bloss of Drums reached the ground, he hit the hood of an SUV. The SUV, property of the Hazleton City Police Department, with the Chief of Police, Frank DeAndrea, behind the wheel. The accident would lead to a long investigation to find out who was responsible for the crash, the senior citizen who was driving along Laurel Street or the top cop himself who was coming along Broad Street. Witnesses at the scene told News 13 that Chief DeAndrea had the green light, while Bloss said he had the green light to ride through the intersection. State Police accident reconstructionists completed the investigation. The report stated that Chief DeAndrea, who was behind the wheel of the department's SUV at the time, failed to stop for a red light. But since no witnesses testified in court to actually seeing a red light ran, a district judge handed down a not guilty verdict to the chief. The city is currently involved in litigation for that traffic light malfunctioning. Jasmine Brooks, News 13, Hazleton.
And time now for our regional weather from the National Weather Service. Checking the radar, nothing but clear skies, maybe a slight dusting as we start the new year, but not much else. Tonight's creative condition is perfect for a cold New Year's Eve. It's by Samantha Mattarella, a 4th grader at West Hazleton Elementary Middle School. And she's all warm and toasty in her home with smoke coming out of the chimney while a snowman stands guard outside. Very nice. Now let's take a look at the News 13 weather from the National Weather Service for Greater Hazleton. This New Year's Eve, slight chance of snow showers, but only after 10 o'clock tonight. Cloudy with a low around 22. Then for the first day of the new year, a slight chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy, a high up to 32, a low around 14. Moving on over to Schuylkill County, tonight a slight chance of light snow after 1 a.m., cloudy with a low around 25, and then for New Year's Day, cloudy with a high near 34, a low around 17. What were the top 5 stories of 2012 in Greater Hazleton and Schuylkill County? We'll tell you when the News 13 crew comes right back on our special New Year's Eve edition. Our countdown of the top 10 stories affecting Greater Hazleton and Schuylkill County for 2012 continues. Coming up, the top 5.
From the Samson Production Studios in the heart of Hazleton, Pennsylvania, it's your News 13.
Good evening, and thank you so much for staying with us tonight. I'm Kathy Bazinski. Well, number 6 on News 13's list of the top 10 stories of 2012 is very appropriate for tonight. It's the heartwarming story of a young girl who needed a new heart, and in 2012, she received one. We first met Kayla Kelly almost 2 years ago. She looked like any teenage girl, but she was suffering with a dangerous condition. We first met Kayla Kelly almost 2 years ago. She looked like any teenager, but she was suffering with a dangerous condition called Yule's, which had devastated her heart.
The right side is double the size of a normal adult, and the muscle's very thin, and it's very hard for it to pump blood the right way.
The incredibly rare disease makes it hard for Kayla to live normally. By 17, she'd had a heart attack and a mini stroke and needed to get a pacemaker and defibrillator inserted.
There's no words to put into your mind how it is to live with the risk of sudden death every day of your life. It's scary.
Kayla's only long-term hope, a new heart, and in February of 2012, she received one. Kayla had been waiting at the Hershey Medical Center for 5 weeks, hoping that a donor's family would give her the gift of life. And on the last night of January, that precious gift arrived by helicopter. In no time, Kayla was in the operating room and her surgical team worked through the night to transplant the vital organ. By late on the morning of February 1st, Kayla's new heart was beating inside her, and just hours later, the teen was breathing on her own and trying to communicate with her parents. Believe it or not, just 11 days later, Kayla was healthy enough to head home. She was released from the Hershey Medical Center and came home to Hazleton by ambulance. Friends and family were ready for a joyous reunion. Kayla was overjoyed to be home with her puppy, her grandmother, an entire family that was there to celebrate. Kayla's mom and dad said this was the moment they'd been praying for.
When I look at Kayla, and I've watched her through the years, there's more determination, more faith, and she has that whole slew of supporters out there that have helped her get to this point.
I can't say thank you enough. The support has been overwhelming. I read every post that I get on Facebook. I try to read every card and I write it back as much as I can, but I just want to tell everyone thank you, the doctors, nurses, supporters, everybody.
I just want to give a special thank you to our donor family. We don't know who you are or where you are, but you've given our daughter a second chance at life.
And now, on her Facebook support site, Letters for Kayla, the young woman with a new heart is doing well. For her 10-month checkup at the Hershey Medical Center, she took time to thank some of the nurses on her transplant team.
We're glad she's doing so well. And number 4 on News 13's list of the top 10 stories of 2012 is an unfortunate situation that affected the lives of many. It's the tragic story of the Diamond Avenue fire that displaced 24 people from their homes.
In the early morning hours of March 6th, firefighters rushed to the scene on East Diamond Avenue to find flames shooting from an apartment building. Rose Fedullo and her husband were just 2 of the 24 victims of this terrible fire that displaced them from their homes. She recalled that horrifying morning where she was shaken awake by a firefighter.
I was upstairs in bed. He came up, he shook me, got me out of bed, and he said, "You have to come down right now. Right this minute. Don't grab nothing," he said, because he said, "Your house is on fire." I said, "No, I'm not leaving now." He said, "You have to come. You have to come right out." He said, "You can't stay in the house." So I grabbed myself. I came out with my shoes on and my house coat, and that was it.
Other victims included many young children, the youngest being a 2-month-old baby girl. They lost all their clothing and toys in the blaze, much like everyone else, who only had the clothes on their backs left. When firefighters arrived on the scene just before 5 a.m. on March 6th, the flames were already vicious and moving quickly. Firefighters rushed to make sure all the tenants were safe and accounted for.
Crews were ready to find heavy fire in the front of the building, the second floor of the structure. Immediately at that time, our main goal was to get everybody out of the building.
Due to the size and severity of the fire, it was a miracle that only one person had to go to the hospital for smoke inhalation, and that no firefighters were injured while putting out the blaze. Immediately, though, this tragedy seemed very suspicious because just hours earlier, firefighters were on scene at that same apartment building.
We were here last night about 11:30 for a fire outside the structure. And then we were back here at 5 a.m. So we are trying to see if those two fires are connected or tied in any way, and that's what we're working on right now and investigating.
The first fire was in a garbage can, which the firefighters were able to put out quickly. The second fire, which was to the apartment building, was ruled an arson. Police were immediately on the hunt for the arsonist, who put so many lives in danger. The apartment building was so damaged that the whole roof caved right in. It posed such a threat to the community that it had to be torn down promptly.
We want it down, the property itself. The structure is damaged beyond repair. So what we want to do, it's a hazard to the public. So we want to eliminate that hazard and the liability there.
In the weeks following the unfortunate blaze, donations were flooding in for all the families that were affected by this calamity. At one point, the donations were so overwhelming that APTS ambulance had to stop taking donations. Over 9 months later, the search is still on for the arsonist that destroyed what 24 people used to call home. Stephanie Gorney, News 13, Hazleton.
And coming up on this New Year's Eve edition of News 13, an unwanted neighbor in downtown Hazleton announces that it's moving out. And then a storm named Sandy puts out power, topples trees, and spurs people in our region to reach out to others. That story still ahead as our countdown of the top stories of 2012 continues.
Tonight's weather is brought to you by Sand Springs Country Club. Here is one of their weekly restaurant specials. All specials served with soup or salad. And tonight's featured dish is steak pepper au pois for just $11.95. It's prime cut sirloin beef dusted with cracked black pepper, crowned with rich creamy brown sauce, and completed over a bed of pasta. Located at 10 Clubhouse Drive in Drums, PA. Call us at 570-788-5845. Visit us at sandspringsgolf.com, or you can find us on Facebook.
Well, it was big news for the city of Hazleton, and it still is. The halfway house that sits in the middle of the downtown is moving. Goodbye Minsec is number 3 on News 13's Top 10 Stories of 2012.
It's been a source of trouble, even a source of fear in downtown Hazleton, which is why news that Minsec was moving out of the city made many happy, to say the least. News 13 spoke with State Representative Tara Toohill right after she received the news.
I spoke with the CEO of CEC, which purchased Minsec. They have no intention to stay here in our community. They're going to be closing up their doors and leaving. They said that they will not be in my district at all.
Toohill has been waiting for this news to come for years.
Christmas has come early for this community. This is something we've been fighting for the last 2 years. It's extremely, extremely good news.
Now, Minsec moved to downtown Hazleton back in 2008. Since then, it's housed a number of residents convicted of a broad spectrum of crimes. With Minsec on its way out, Toohill says the future of Hazleton is looking good.
If you take this and combine it with the D'Angelo brothers, Hayden, Joe Maddon, and the investments that he's making, the $30 million road project that's going on, if you take all of that, there's just so many bright, bright things in our future in Hazleton, and we're thrilled.
There have been a number of problems and incidents involving residents of the transitional housing, where those who are ending their jail time begin their re-entry into the community. There have been escapees over the years and incidents of violence involving those who stayed in the area after moving through the facility. Most agree it doesn't belong downtown. A New Jersey company called Community Education Centers has purchased the Hazleton Minsec Center, along with a number of other re-entry facilities from the previous owner. The new owner says it plans to move Minsec out of the downtown and has already begun to look for a new site. Jasmine Brooks, News 13, Hazleton.
And time now for our regional weather from the National Weather Service. Checking the radar, nothing but clear skies, maybe a dusting as we start the new year, but not too much else. Your New Year's Eve created condition is perfect for a cold day like today. It's by Samantha Mattarella. She's a 4th grader at West Hazleton Elementary Middle School. She's all warm and toasty inside the purple house over there, and There's some smoke coming out the chimney and a snowman in the yard standing guard. It's really cute. Now let's take a look at News 13 weather from the National Weather Service for Greater Hazleton for New Year's Eve. A slight chance of snow showers after 10 p.m. Be cloudy with a low around 22. And then for the first day of the new year, a slight chance of snow showers, mostly cloudy, high 32, a low around 14. On Wednesday, partly sunny with a high near 24, low down to 10. Thursday, partly sunny with a high near 20, low just 11. And Friday, partly sunny with a high near 22 degrees. Moving on over to Schuylkill County, tonight a slight chance of light snow after 1 a.m., cloudy with a low around 25. For New Year's Day, cloudy with a high near 34, a low down to 17. On Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 27, low down to 11. Thursday, partly sunny with a high near 24, low again down to 12. And then Friday, partly cloudy with a high near 26 degrees. Well, it was the storm almost like no other. Post-tropical cyclone Sandy hit the northeast coast hard, and that's why Sandy's effect on our region and our region's response to its victims makes it the #2 story on our list of top stories of 2012.
Its catastrophic winds and rains ripped the East Shore apart in late October. By the time Sandy landed on the coast near Atlantic City, New Jersey, winds had reached up to 80 miles per hour. Destroying entire communities and landmarks like New Jersey boardwalks, the storm left a lot of damage to clean up. Families in our area were left without heat, electricity, and some almost lost everything.
I have to knock it down and start over.
Yeah, doesn't look like a house. Russell just wanted to keep his family under the same roof, but after the storm passed, his house in McAdoo was destroyed. Russell's daughter didn't know where to turn.
It sounded like a big thing of lightning hitting the house, but then we went out and it was a big tree. It went right through our kitchen. It just destroyed the whole house. We just got done fixing it, and that's what happened from Hurricane Sandy. It just destroyed everything.
This pine fell directly on top of their home on Haddock Road, and without homeowners insurance, Samantha's 8-month-old daughter was left without heat or a place to live.
I think it's beyond repair, you know, it's just tore the whole building up, and I think it's even off the foundation.
Luckily, by Thanksgiving, several businesses had reached out to support the family.
I like to help people, you know, that's what I do, you know, and that's why I was brought to the Salvation Army.
And folks in our area didn't just help victims in Pennsylvania. Frank was a man on a mission. He and his wife teamed up to help victims of the storm in New Jersey.
My husband and I and my family, Cernak Farms, Stephanie's Greens and Things, we've organized a Hurricane Sandy relief drive to help the Jersey Shore victims.
The couple and their family were astounded to see how much the community was willing to give.
Gotten a lot of support already. This is just a small portion of what we've received so far.
And the Cernaks aren't the only local family to reach out. Brian of McAdoo said the storm's damage was heartbreaking.
We were lucky we only got wind. That's it. They lost their house. They lost everything. Yeah, maybe their house was still standing, but everything that was inside of it was sitting on the curb.
With the help of donations, Brian loaded up a truck full of donations and drove it down to New Jersey. Even Brian's granddaughter dropped off her toys.
The last items that went on the truck were from my daughter and my grandkids. They picked out their toys, put them in garbage bags, and we put them on the truck. They had tears in their eyes when they put them on the truck.
But it wasn't all tragedy. Others in our area made light of the misfortune, rocking out for a great cause. It was called Sound Against Sandy. Making a Difference Foundation organized the event in hopes to help as many people affected by Hurricane Sandy as possible and having fun while doing it.
Every dime, every nickel, every dollar helps the victims of Sandy. They help local disasters, and the #1 local disaster is fires. And the American Red Cross is always there, and we don't say no.
Events like Sound Against Sandy remind the area that communities, families, and businesses were all affected by the storm's surge. But as the rain and winds turn to snow, folks can only hope the next time a storm like Sandy comes around, people in our area will be willing to help out again. Christina Papa, News 13.
And still ahead on News 13, gearing up for a busy holiday in sports. Fred Barletta has the preview. And then the final story on our countdown of the top stories of 2012. Just ahead when News 13 continues.
SSPTV Sports on News 13 with Fred Barletta Jr. and Ron Marchetti.
Well, it was the worst kept secret in all of professional sports. Andy Reid, well, his head was on the chopping block for the last several weeks, and it became official today. Andy Reid out after 14 years. The head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, the longest tenured coach in the history of the city of Philadelphia, with the exception of Connie Mack. Of course, he owned the baseball team. But the Andy Reid years, well, it's going to take a while to go back and see exactly where they fit in Philadelphia Eagle history. I just look at it this way. I know it's probably something that had to be done, but I don't know if that's going to solve the problem, Eagle fans. There's a lot of things wrong with this Philadelphia Eagle franchise. You don't end up 4-12 simply because of what's going on with the coaching. So we'll wait and see. Who's going to be the new head coach? We'll never know. Well, we'll know soon enough, I guess. Now, the New York Jets got rid of their general manager, but Rex Ryan stays. They put Mark Sanchez as a quarterback yesterday, and the results were, well, downright ugly. See, Buffalo wins. The Giants over the Eagles. Of course, the Giants doesn't mean very much because they didn't make the playoffs. Pittsburgh ends the season with a win, and the Kansas City Chiefs get drilled by Denver. Nate Eachus inactive again, so he did not really play in the entire month of December. Now, the playoff picture is set. The Minnesota Vikings will be at Green Bay, even after that thriller yesterday in Minnesota. I guess around here, let's go Vikings. Of course, Eric Sugarman, Hazleton native, head trainer of the Minnesota Vikings, so let's go Vikes. Meanwhile, Cincinnati and Houston will be the other Saturday game. On Sunday, how about this? The Colts going back to Baltimore, and if you have any kind of appreciation of history, you got to be rooting for the Ravens because you don't want the Colts to come back to Baltimore and get a win. That just wouldn't be right. Seattle and Washington after Washington's win yesterday. Hey, we got just the thing for the Monday Blues. It's Bottlenecks, where it's crab and clam seafood jam night, because if you love seafood, you'll love Monday nights at Bottlenecks. You got the white shell little neck clams in garlic butter or the peel and eat shrimp. Both of them, they're going for $3 a dozen. Or go for the jumbo snow crab legs. You get a pound for just $8.95. It's all at Bottlenecks, our sponsors each and every night on SSPTV.
Everyone knows that Bottlenecks is the home of award-winning wings and mouth-watering steaks, but now a new tasty reason to stop by. New succulent snow crab legs, steamed, seasoned, and served with lemon and hot melted butter. And seafood fans will love Monday nights for the crab and clam seafood jam, featuring little neck clams in garlic butter and peel and eat Old Bay shrimp. Bottlenecks is open 7 days a week. The kitchen is open till midnight every day. There's always a reason to stop by Bottlenecks.
The Skins are in and Andy Reid is out. Happy New Year and goodbye 2012. It's New Year's Eve. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Trivia Treats. It looks like the first week of 2013 is going to be a bitter cold week, so let's lead off with a public message that you haven't heard me say for the last 2 years, but I'm saying it now, especially for Thursday and Friday. Make sure you turn off your outside spigot from the valve inside, then open and leave open your outside spigot. It's also a good idea to leave one faucet cold only run pencil thick overnight, mainly to those of you who have had freezing problems in the past and you know who you are. With that being said, 40 years ago, in 1972 on this New Year's Eve, Roberto Clemente died when the charter DC-7 on which he was traveling crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, 1 mile from San Juan, Puerto Rico. He was 38. The plane was carrying relief supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. During his stellar 18-year career, all with the Pirates, Clemente batted .317 while collecting exactly 3,000 hits. He won 4 batting titles, led the National League in hits twice, was named to 12 All-Star teams, and won 12 Gold Gloves. Roberto was also a National League MVP in 1966 and a World Series MVP in 1951. Roberto Clemente was inducted posthumously into the Hall of Fame in 1973. On the day before New Year's Eve in 1962, exactly 50 years ago, under coach Vince Lombardi, the Green Bay Packers won the NFC Championship for the second straight year by defeating the New York Giants 16-7 Yankee Stadium on a day in which the temperature in New York was 13 degrees. With wind gusts of 40 miles per hour, the Packers had capped the 1961 season the year before by devouring the Giants 37-0 in the championship game in Green Bay. Finally, 2 days before New Year's Eve in 1947, 65 years ago, the Chicago Cardinals defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 28-21 in the NFL championship game before a crowd of 30,759 at Comiskey Park. Halfback Elmer Hangsman ran for 2 70-yard touchdowns, and the other Cardinal halfback ran for a 44-yard score, and then he clinched the game with a 75-yard punt return for a touchdown. His name was Charlie Trippi. Both teams wore rubber-soled basketball shoes instead of football cleats because the field was frozen and slippery. But the following year was worse. December 19th, 1948, at Shibe Park in Philadelphia, during a blizzard, Steve Van Buren scored the only touchdown as the Eagles got revenge on those Cardinals, beating them 7-0. Wishes from all of us here at 13 to all of you out there for a healthy and happy New Year. Till Friday, stay safe and stay loose.
And we're ending the year with a bang. Sadly, murders in the greater Hazleton area are our #1 story of 2012. 2 murders in Hazleton less than a month apart from one another happened earlier this year, and now it looks like that story may be repeating itself. Murder by numbers is our top story.
Crime statistics have slowly been rising in the Hazleton area for quite some time, but the multiple homicides that happened earlier this year on the streets of Hazleton bring the level of murders to a heightened level. He was a teaching assistant from Scranton University. 29-year-old Aaron Resnick was found on Carson Street early Saturday morning on August 4th, bleeding from his face and head. Aaron Resnick was murdered over an iPhone. At first, this case had no leads, but thanks to the Hazleton community, police were able to arrest 17-year-old Mitchell Detus and 19-year-old Breon Judon. The men told police they stripped Resnick, held him at gunpoint, put him in a car trunk, and stomped on his head. Police later said that Resnick was in critical condition when they reached him. He died days later at Lehigh Valley Hospital. The 2 teenage suspects headed to trial in mid-October. The statements read aloud in front of Judge Zola stated that the young men met up with Resnick on Carson Street to sell him crack cocaine. But when he didn't have money to pay them, he offered his iPhone. As of now, the only motive behind the death is the iPhone. Police said there was still a lot of physical evidence that needed to be examined, and this case is still ongoing. And not too long after the incident on Carson Street, a murder on Alter Street. Take a look at these surveillance pictures taken inside an Alter Street business on the night 34-year-old Eric Guantley of Hazleton was murdered. The shooting suspect, Richard or Ricardo, seen here, is known to frequent many Alter Street businesses like this one, looking for odd jobs. Guantley was found on the road as officers responded to a report of gunshots fired in the area of 4th and Alter Streets around 2 a.m. The autopsy report said the man was shot in the shoulder, chest, and stomach. As of September, Hazleton police were searching for a man named Ricardo or Richard. At a news conference days later, police were urging witnesses to the killing to come forward with information. Anyone with information about this shooting is asked to call the Hazleton police. And more recently, families have been struggling with the loss of loved ones this holiday season. 32-year-old mother of 2, Maria Bria, was found strangled and hidden inside her East Diamond Avenue apartment earlier this month. Maria was reported missing by her family just 4 days before her body was found. It was a tragic scene outside of her building. According to police, the young woman recently broke up with her ex-boyfriend, Oscar Lozano Garcia. As of today, he is not a suspect of this case. Luzerne County Detective and the FBI are assisting in this ongoing investigation. And lovers' quarrels ended badly for 2 couples, one from Mahanoy City and the other from Freeland. Both incidences are considered murder-suicide cases and are open for investigation.
That's 2012. I'm Kathy Baczynski. For the entire team, have a happy and healthy 2013.